Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're undertaking a really critical mission. We want to move the conversation away from just, identifying toxic people.
Yeah, and really focusing laser-like on the survivor's journey. For way too long, all the energy's been spent analyzing them.
Exactly. Now we need to shift the focus entirely to you listening, the impact this has, and crucially, the path to actually healing.
That's right. Our mission here is to really cement this idea that the chaos, the confusion, that overwhelming anxiety you might be feeling, it's not some flaw in your character. It's a
Yeah.
predictable outcome, almost mechanical, really. It comes from these consistent antagonistic behavioral patterns. We're basically pulling out the roadmap for healing because fundamentally the problem isn't you.
And this is what we're drilling down into, that really common, often confusing middle ground. We're not talking about the, mustache twirling villain from a movie.
No, we're focusing on what our source material calls the moderate narcissist. And this is where so many people get stuck. For years, sometimes, because the moderate type, they don't just blow up your life in one go.
Hmm.
They give you, as the source says, enough bad days to take a toll and enough good days to keep you hooked.
Ah, that's the trap.
That's the trap. Just enough charm, or what looks like remorse, often enough to make you doubt yourself constantly. That inconsistency.
Yeah.
That's it.
So to get a handle on this,
Hmm.
we need to introduce this key term that covers the whole scope of the damage.
Antagonistic relational stress.
Right. It helps us move past just labels
Mm.
and look at the core issue, these patterns of manipulation, hostility, exploitation,
Mm.
the actions that just chip away at your sense of self-worth.
Okay, let's unpack that stress then. When people talk about toxic relationships,
Yeah.
often they think big fights, right? But what does this antagonistic relational stress actually
Yeah.
feel like day to day? Those subtle things.
Well, it often looks like just this systematic invalidation
Yeah.
and shaming you for having basic needs. The antagonistic person's goal, often unconsciously, is to make you accountable for their discomfort. So your reality is constantly being questioned.
Constantly. And you end up internalizing this belief that maybe your unhappiness is inconvenient or maybe you're being difficult. It's insidious because it's mixed in with normal moments, even praise sometimes.
That mixture is what really scrambles the brain, isn't it?
Totally.
Let's look at some examples from the sources. They really show this daily emotional cruelty, where the victim ends up taking responsibility for the abuser's stuff.
Yeah, there's the really stark case of Carolina. Her husband betrayed her, repeatedly unfaithful, but instead of apologizing,
He blamed her.
he blamed her, said she made him feel unimportant. And Carolina, who was actually really successful professionally, spent years downplaying her own achievements just to make him feel okay.
Wow. And the result for her.
Debilitating anxiety, panic attacks, predictable fallout.
That just shows how they can systematically dismantle your reality. It's profound damage.
Yeah.
And then there's Natalia, married
Yeah.
50 years.
50 years. And while she's going through really tough cancer treatment, her husband calls her chemo appointments disruptive to his schedule.
Disruptive.
Yeah. And shamed her for needing help, called her the Empress because she needed assistance walking after chemo.
That's just cruel.
It underscores the core psychological point here. The anxiety, the panic, the deep sadness, that's the cart. The relationship itself is the horse.
The trauma comes from the environment, not you.
Exactly. It's not a personal failing.
Okay. So if the relationship is the source, we need a way to understand the tactics they use. How do we map out their main moves?
We can use the dimmer patterns. It's a useful acronym. These 6 behaviors, when used consistently, act like a switch that, well, dims your sense of self and your well-being.
Dimmer. Let's break that down. These are key identifiers, D and I.
D is for dismissiveness. Your concerns, maybe even your wins, your thoughts just brushed off. A sigh, a shrug, I is invalidation. That's the outright denial of your reality. You didn't see that, you're too sensitive, that never happened. Your feelings are just plain wrong, according to them.
Makes you feel invisible. And the M's, minimization and manipulation, these feel like the trickiest because they play on our empathy.
Oh, absolutely. Minimization makes you feel like you're overreacting to something serious. Wasn't that bad? You're making a big deal out of nothing.
Right.
And manipulation, well, that's often using guilt or fear, sometimes obligation to get what they want. It works because we want to believe the best, we want to help.
That's why it's so effective. Then E and R.
E is exploitativeness, basically using you.
Yeah.
For money, status, connections, even just validation with no real give and take. And the final R is rage.
Not just anger, but rage.
Yes, usually this disproportionate sudden explosion over something small, often a mild critique or boundary. It's purely a control tactic, shuts you down fast.
The real power of this moderate type, like you said, is the inconsistency. 1 minute loving, the next they're using those dimmer tactics. That shifting mask makes it impossible to predict.
Hmm.
So for someone trying to get clarity, how long does that first phase, the idealization, usually last before things turn sour? Is there like a typical timeline?
The timeline varies hugely, honestly. Weeks, months, sometimes longer. But the sequence, that's pretty constant. It's this predictable narcissistic relationship cycle.
Okay.
Stage 1, idealization or love bombing. That's the hook. It feels rushed, intense, uniquely special. They create this huge buy-in, make you feel incredibly seen and valued.
And they often frame things that are actually isolating as romantic, right?
Exactly,
Right.
like nesting or we don't need anyone else. It feels special, but it's often cutting you off from your support system.
So idealization creates the credit, and devaluation is when the bill comes due.
That's a great way to put it. Devaluation and discard is stage 2. The mask slips, the blaming starts, the criticizing, the diminishing.
And the discard, with this moderate type, isn't always a big dramatic breakup.
Often not. It might be losing interest, avoiding intimacy, maybe finding new supply. Frequently, they maneuver it so you feel forced to leave, which lets them play the victim later.
Clever in a horrible way. And if you do try to set a boundary or leave,
Then stage 3 kicks in, hoovering and future faking, trying to suck you back in.
hoovering, like the vacuum cleaner.
Yep. Uses those pseudo-apologies, the ones that take zero accountability. I'm sorry you feel that way, or I'm sorry if I upset you.
Not, I'm sorry for what I did.
Never. And future faking is the other big tool here. Promising change, we'll get married, I'll go to therapy, we'll move. But it's always tied to some vague future date.
Next year, when things settle down.
Exactly. It's just a carrot to keep you waiting, keep you invested now.
The result of this whole cycle is that constant internal churn. Is me. This feeling that you're going crazy. Why do survivors turn the blame inward so often? What's the psychology there?
Well, self-blame, strangely, can feel like an attempt to regain control in a situation that feels totally out of control.
How so?
If you think, okay, if it's my fault, then maybe if I just change my behavior, I can fix this whole thing. It gives you a sense of agency, even if it's misplaced.
And this is reinforced by something called betrayal blindness.
Yes, betrayal blindness is fascinating and scary. It's this unconscious effort your brain makes to ignore really painful betrayals.
Like seeing proof of cheating or lies.
Exactly. You see the incriminating texts, the weird bank statements, whatever it is,
Yeah.
but your mind tries to minimize it, explain it away, because acknowledging the betrayal would shatter your worldview, your attachment to this person you depend on.
So trusting your gut sounds easy, but betrayal blindness means our brain is actively fighting that gut feeling. How do you interrupt that? Quickly.
Interrupting it almost always requires external validation or concrete documentation, because your own brain is working against you in that moment.
So talking to someone safe, journaling.
Yes, writing down the facts, dates, times, what actually happened, getting it out of your head and onto paper, or saying it out loud to someone who believes you helps break that internal ignore mechanism.
And even when the relationship is over, the fallout continues. The sources talk about the 3 R's of fallout.
Mm-hmm.
The first is regret. Why did I stay so long? Grieving lost time, lost opportunities.
That's huge, especially the lost opportunities. The second R, rumination, is getting stuck in those thought loops, replaying conversations, trying endlessly to make sense of behavior that fundamentally doesn't make sense.
It's exhausting. You're trying to apply logic where logic doesn't live.
Precisely. And the third R, euphoric recall. This one is really insidious. It keeps the trauma bond strong.
How does that work?
It's selective memory. Your brain conveniently pushes aside all the bad stuff, the abuse, the pain, and only brings up the good times. That one nice vacation dinner, that time they were charming at a party.
So you're going to have gaslighting yourself.
Completely. You start thinking, see, it wasn't all bad. Maybe I am exaggerating. Maybe it wasn't really that bad.
That euphoric recall sounds really sticky. How can you sort of inoculate yourself against it? Are there specific things you can do? Anchors.
Yes, the main inoculation is that documentation we talked about. When the abuse or manipulation happens, write it down. Just the facts. What happened, when, not even your feelings, just the objective behavior.
Okay.
Then when euphoric recall whispers in your ear, ooh, remember that lovely trip? You pull out your journal and read the reality of what was happening around that time too. It provides that factual grounding to counter the self-gaslighting.
Okay, so this whole journey boils down to accepting that they aren't likely to change, so the survivor has to change their response, Where does that transformation begin?
It really starts with the absolute cornerstone of healing here, which is radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance. That sounds intense.
It is, but maybe not how you think. Acceptance isn't approval. It's definitely not surrender or saying the behavior is okay. It's simply recognizing deeply that the patterns, the entitlement, the manipulation, the rage, whatever it is, are consistent. They are part of who this person is. You're accepting the reality of them, not the fantasy you wish they were.
And accepting that reality then allows you to set realistic expectations.
Exactly. This leads directly to the don't burn your umbrellas idea from the source material.
Explain that one.
Because the moderate type does give you those good sunny days sometimes, right? It's easy to think, okay, the storm's passed for good.
Hope kicks in.
Hope kicks in. But radical acceptance means knowing that if the person's personality is the rain, you just keep your umbrella handy. You expect the patterns, you plan for them, so when they inevitably show up again, you're prepared, not crushed or surprised.
Okay, so acceptance and realistic expectations set the stage. But direct engagement is usually a disaster. We need tools for disengagement. Let's start with that immediate, in-the-moment conflict avoidance. The DEEP technique.
Yes, this is so crucial for avoiding their emotional traps. DEEP stands for don't defend, explain, engage, or personalize.
Don't defend or explain. But that's our instinct. When someone accuses you of something,
It's totally our instinct, but defending yourself just gives them ammunition. They twist your words. Explaining yourself gives them what they crave, narcissistic supply. It shows them they have power over your emotional state.
you're feeding the fire.
You're feeding the cycle. The second you feel that urge to justify yourself, to explain your reality to someone who consistently invalidates it, that's your cue to disengage. Immediately. Your explanation will only be weaponized.
Okay. So DEEP for immediate situations. What about managing contact long-term? Sometimes no contact just isn't possible. Co-parenting, work.
Right. And that's where low contact or firewalling comes in. It's about intentionally reducing interactions to the bare minimum necessary.
Sticking to logistics.
Strictly logistics.
Yeah.
Neutral, boring topics only. You're essentially building a firewall between their chaos and your own emotional stability. You control the frequency, the duration, the topics.
And within that low contact strategy, there are specific communication techniques. Gray rock and yellow rock.
Yeah. Gray rocking is exactly what it sounds like. You become as interesting as a gray rock.
Okay.
Minimal responses, unembellished facts, emotionally flat, one-word answers if possible. You give them absolutely nothing interesting to react to or feed on. You remove yourself as a source of supply.
And yellow rock.
Yellow rock is basically gray rock, but with a thin layer of politeness sprayed on. Think. Blandly pleasant.
Why the politeness?
It's crucial for situations where other people are watching. Co-parenting exchanges, legal meetings, the workplace. You need to appear reasonable and composed to outsiders, even while giving the antagonist nothing substantive. Gray rock might look cold or uncooperative in public, but yellow rock looks like polite disengagement.
Got it. Okay, let's pivot slightly. A lot of really good, kind, capable people get caught in these dynamics. And the question is always, why me? It feels like some vulnerability was targeted.
It often was. The sources highlight two major vulnerabilities that antagonistic people are masters at exploiting: empathy and the desire to be a rescuer.
Empathy seems like a strength, though.
It is a strength. But your own wonderful empathy can make you view the antagonistic person through this lens of compassion. You see their supposed pain, you excuse their behavior, you think they just need understanding, even when the toxic patterns are staring you in the face.
So empathy blinds you to the pattern.
Yeah.
But what about rescuing? Isn't that just like extreme empathy? Where's the line where it becomes destructive?
That's a great question. The rescuer role goes beyond empathy into a compulsion. A need to prove your own worth by fixing someone else. The source material calls the narcissistic person a rescue mission that will never end. You pour in time, energy, money, love. But it's a black hole because you're trying to fix a deeply ingrained personality style, not just a temporary problem.
And you can't fix that with kindness.
No. Rescuers get stuck, sometimes for decades, trying to fix the unfixable parent or partner, tragically delaying their own healing journey. Hashtag tag outro.
So the ultimate journey here, the real success story, is making that shift, moving away from the exhausting cycle of self-blame, rumination, trying to fix them, and moving toward radical acceptance, setting those realistic expectations and mastering that art of strategic disengagement. It's tough, no doubt, but the payoff is huge. Getting your emotional freedom back.
Absolutely. And healing fundamentally isn't really about forgiving them. It's about forgiving yourself for
Mhm.
being human, for having that empathy we talked about, for wanting love and connection like we all do.
Right.
It's about building that resistance, learning to create distance where needed, and really learning to listen to your body. Because often your body knows the truth way before your logical mind is ready to accept it.
And that leads perfectly into our final provocative thought for you, the listener, today. The ultimate goal, maybe, is to become so attuned to these unhealthy patterns that your own sympathetic nervous system, SNS, your fight or flight system, becomes like an early warning signal.
Exactly. That tightness in your chest you feel around someone, that lump in your throat, that sudden wave of anxiety when a familiar dynamic starts playing out. That's information.
Don't dismiss it.
Don't dismiss it. Next time you feel that physical reaction, ask yourself, is this about a unique, current threat? Or is my body recognizing a toxic pattern I've seen before? Maybe even 3 times before. Use that rule of 3 the sources
Using
mentioned.
the rule of 3.
Yeah, the first time something happens, it's maybe a blip. The
Mhm.
second time, okay, coincidence. But the third time, that's a pattern.
Trust the pattern.
Trust the pattern. You absolutely deserve relationships that build you up, not ones that diminish you.
For more heartfelt videos like this, remember to like and subscribe. It's a small way to say, keep going, and it helps this channel continue sharing messages that heal, inspire, and remind us who we are.